United States, Washington, D.C. When a brilliant black scientist is accused of reckless experiments, he must confront both the unjust legal system and the deeply rooted racial prejudice standing in the way of his genius. Dr. Elijah Carter, a 28-year-old black scientist, has spent years developing groundbreaking experimental research in the field of bioengineering. Despite his dedication and the potential his work holds, Dr. Carter faces growing opposition and skepticism, primarily due to the radical nature of his theories and his race. His research has the potential to change medical science, but many in the scientific community question whether he's gone too far, and some even accuse him of conducting reckless and unethical experiments. Now, Dr. Carter finds himself standing in a courtroom, facing accusations that could ruin his career and life, all while battling a system that holds deep biases against him. With the eyes of the nation on him, Dr. Carter must defend not only his work, but also his right to exist in a field that has always been dominated by those who doubt his worth. Dr. Carter's legal battle is more than just about proving the safety and validity of his research. It's about proving his worth as a scientist, as a person, and as someone who deserves a place in a community that has been historically resistant to black excellence. Every day, he faces the burden of representing not just himself, but an entire generation of black scientists who are often overlooked or dismissed. The stress and pressure of the courtroom weigh heavily on him, but his commitment to his work, to his truth, and to the future of science keeps him focused. The courtroom itself becomes a battleground, where the legal arguments are not only about science and ethics, but about race and systemic inequality. As Dr. Carter speaks, the judge, jury, and the world must confront the uncomfortable reality of how deeply entrenched racial biases shape perceptions, decisions, and even the course of groundbreaking research. The prosecution relentlessly questions his every move, every theory, insinuating that his work is too risky, too radical, because he is black. Meanwhile, the defense does their best to prove that Dr. Carter is more than capable, that his work has merit, and that his race should not overshadow his achievements. Dr. Carter must rise above the personal attacks and the systemic obstacles. As he faces the glare of skepticism and hostility, his passion for his work and his commitment to a future in which all people, regardless of their race, are allowed to thrive and contribute to humanity, becomes his anchor. With the eyes of the nation on him, Dr. Carter finds the strength to keep moving forward. This trial isn't just about him. It's about the future of science and the fight for equality in every field of study. It's about changing the narrative and proving that genius doesn't have a color, and that science is for everyone. What would you do if your entire career was on the line, and you had to prove your worth to those who don't believe in you? Dr. Carter stands at the witness stand, holding the book that contains his controversial research. His posture is confident, yet his face betrays the anxiety of the moment. The eyes of the courtroom are all on him, attentive, skeptical, and waiting for him to defend the work that has both the potential to change the world and the power to destroy his life. His hands tremble slightly, but he takes a deep breath, grounding himself in the belief that his work is worth defending. The judge, an elderly white man with a stern expression, eyes Dr. Carter as he begins his questioning. Dr. Carter, your experiments have raised serious concerns. Many believe your methods are not only reckless but unethical. The judge says, pointing his finger at him with authority. His voice carries the weight of the establishment, as though every word is meant to discredit Dr. Carter's very existence as a scientist. "I believe in my work, Your Honor. It has the potential to save countless lives," Dr. Carter responds, his voice steady but filled with passion. He knows that the stakes of this trial are about much more than just his research. They're about the ongoing fight for black excellence, to be seen and recognized in spaces where it has been systematically excluded. The tension in the courtroom is palpable, as Dr. Carter's every word is scrutinized. The air feels thick with judgment and preconceived notions, but Dr. Carter remains focused, determined to defend his work and his right to contribute to science. He knows that to many, he is not just a scientist. He is a black man in a field that has long been hostile to him and his ideas. "You're telling me your experiments are safe, despite the risks they present?" The judge challenges, not hiding his doubt. "Are we supposed to believe that a young man like you can make decisions that generations of scientists have yet to accomplish?" The judge's question lingers in the air, a direct attack, not just on Dr. Carter's research, but on his worth as an individual. The implication is clear. How can someone like him, someone who has not been afforded the privileges of history, education, or the right to fail, be trusted with such radical ideas? Dr. Carter clenches his jaw, his resolve hardening. He knows this trial is more than just about science. It's about breaking through the racial prejudices that continue to shadow his brilliance. This trial is not only a fight for his career, but a fight to show that black scientists can push boundaries and contribute to humanity without being constantly doubted and questioned. As he continues to defend his work, he is met with more resistance from the judge and opposing counsel. They try to poke holes in his theories, twist his words, and undermine his accomplishments. But Dr. Carter refuses to back down. He knows that, despite the systemic barriers, his work has the power to change the world. His courage and persistence become the driving force behind his defense. The trial continues, with the legal arguments becoming more personal. Every question that challenges his work feels like an attack on his very being. But Dr. Carter stays strong, speaking truth to power, knowing that his words carry the weight of a generation of black scientists who have been overlooked and dismissed. This trial is more than about him. It is about every person who has ever been silenced, every idea that has been dismissed because of race. How would you react if your intelligence and achievements were questioned simply because of your race? As the trial continues, the prosecutor relentlessly questions Dr. Carter's methods, calling them reckless and untested. "Isn't it true that your experiments have failed in some instances, Doctor?" "Carter?" the prosecutor asks, hoping to undermine his credibility. "Yes, not all of my experiments have succeeded, but science is about progress and learning from failure," Dr. Carter responds, his voice growing more confident as he defends his work. He knows that every step in science involves risks and setbacks, but they are a necessary part of discovery. If science is only concerned with results, we would never have made it past our first attempt at anything. "But isn't it also true that your research is potentially dangerous?" the prosecutor presses, aiming to paint Dr. Carter as reckless and irresponsible. The prosecutor's voice rises, hoping to push Dr. Carter into a corner. The courtroom gasps as Dr. Carter is forced to face the possibility that his work might be misunderstood or misrepresented. But he knows his research could ultimately change the world. He is more than capable, and he is certain that the breakthroughs he is pursuing will benefit humanity in ways that others cannot yet see. Dangerous? Dr. Carter asks, his tone firm. What's dangerous is the refusal to push the boundaries of science, to accept that innovation requires risk. What's dangerous is dismissing someone because of the color of their skin. His words cut through the courtroom as he takes a stand not just for his work, but for the right to be heard and believed in spaces that have historically excluded people like him. His hands tremble with emotion, but he is resolute. The truth is on his side. The prosecutor falters, momentarily taken aback by Dr. Carter's bold response. But the damage has already been done. Dr. Carter has shown the world that the accusations against him aren't about the integrity of his work. They're about something deeper, the prejudice that is built into the very systems that are supposed to judge fairness. The subtle biases against black innovators have always been there, and now Dr. Carter is making them visible to everyone in the room. He has shattered the illusion that these systems are blind to race. The jury begins to look at Dr. Carter with new respect. The courtroom falls silent as Dr. Carter makes his point. The jury listens, his words resonating with truth. He has faced years of obstacles, both personal and professional, but this is the moment when everything comes into focus. He is not just fighting for his career. He's fighting to be seen as a legitimate force in a field that has tried to hold him back at every turn. This trial is more than a fight for his career. It is a declaration that his work, and the work of all marginalized people, matters. His defense isn't just about science. It's about the way science and progress are often restricted by bias and preconceived notions. It's about breaking the cycle of inequality that has persisted for centuries. Dr. Carter is not only defending his experiments, but is showing that innovation cannot be stopped by the color of one's skin. Dr. Carter doesn't have the luxury of being just a scientist. He must be a representative of his entire community, fighting against a system that continually questions his worth, even when he offers groundbreaking solutions. He represents the hopes of generations of black scientists who have been held back by structural barriers. His fight is more than personal. It is for all those who have been denied the right to create and innovate. But through it all, his resolve grows stronger. He will prove that his work has value and that the future of science should be accessible to all, regardless of race. As he looks at the jury, he knows he is making history. How do you think innovation in science should balance risk with safety? Should every experiment be completely foolproof? Or is it necessary to take risks to achieve breakthroughs? The courtroom is in an uproar after Dr. Carter's bold statement. Even the judge looks momentarily taken aback by the power of his words. Malik Carter's defense attorney stands up to make his final argument, presenting evidence of the breakthroughs Dr. Carter has already made, showing the positive impact his work could have on medicine. Dr. Carter's work is groundbreaking. He's faced every obstacle the system has thrown at him, and yet he has persevered. His research isn't reckless, it's revolutionary, his attorney argues, presenting evidence that supports Dr. Carter's claims. Science doesn't wait for permission. It evolves. And Dr. Carter is at the forefront of that evolution, the attorney continues, rallying the court. Slowly, the tide begins to shift. The jury, once skeptical, now looks at Dr. Carter with a newfound respect, acknowledging his courage and brilliance. Every argument that once seemed to doubt his work now gives way to admiration. The attorney points out how Dr. Carter's research could reshape medical science, bringing benefits that far outweigh the perceived risks. The opposing attorney tries to intervene, but the momentum has shifted. Dr. Carter's attorney emphasizes that the fight for groundbreaking innovation often comes with resistance, especially when it challenges established norms. This isn't just a case about one man's research. It's about the future of scientific progress itself. It's about shifting the status quo and providing a voice to those who have been historically excluded from the most significant spaces of innovation. Dr. Carter's heart pounds, but he stands tall as he watches the jury. He's always known that real change requires more than just doing good work. It requires challenging the systems in place that restrict progress. And now, he feels the weight of that responsibility more than ever. He knows that this moment could redefine his future, and that of many others who have faced the same bias. The courtroom is no longer a place of condemnation. It has become a space where truth is being uncovered. The prosecutor's doubts are no longer able to overshadow Dr. Carter's determination. The tension in the room is palpable, but there is an air of hope rising as Dr. Carter's story of perseverance and brilliance begins to take center stage. He is no longer just defending his work. He is asserting the value of people like him in fields where they have historically been shut out. As the defense attorney wraps up, the jury begins to lean forward, clearly moved by the powerful words. The judge looks at Dr. Carter, his expression no longer one of suspicion, but one of acknowledgement. There is something undeniable about this young man's resolve, a resolve that has shattered the biases surrounding him. Dr. Carter's determination to stand against the system and speak truth to power now resonates beyond the courtroom. The trial continues, but it has already changed Dr. Carter. His work has always been about more than just proving his theories. It's about proving that the value of an idea, a person, or a life can never be determined by race. Dr. Carter has opened a door that many have tried to shut, and in doing so, he is redefining what is possible. His courage today will inspire the next generation of scientists to dream bigger, fight harder, and push against the limits that have been imposed on them. How do you think society often dismisses groundbreaking work simply because of who is behind it? How can we change that? Every great advancement in history has been met with skepticism at first, and Dr. Carter's fight is not just about him. It's about showing the world that there is value in the voices that have long been silenced. Do you think society often dismisses groundbreaking work simply because of who is behind it? How can we change that? After days of intense legal battles, the verdict is delivered. Dr. Carter is acquitted of all charges, and his research is officially deemed valuable and worthy of further study. The courtroom erupts in applause, but Dr. Carter remains calm. His fight is far from over. But this victory is a significant step toward earning the respect he deserves. He knows that this decision is more than just an end to the trial. It's the beginning of his fight for recognition and equality in the scientific community. As he leaves the courtroom, Dr. Carter is swarmed by reporters and scientists who now want to work with him, eager to see where his research will go next. But amidst the excitement, Dr. Carter remains focused. His success is not just for him. It's for everyone who has been unfairly held back because of their race or background. This is just the beginning, Dr. Carter says, looking determined. Science belongs to everyone, not just those who are allowed to sit at the table. His words resonate with the crowd, inspiring not only those in the courtroom, but people all over the world who are fighting against systemic injustice. Dr. Carter's victory is more than just a personal achievement. It's a triumph for all those who have been overlooked, dismissed, or doubted due to their race or background. His acquittal signals that the tide may be turning, and that merit and innovation, not race, should define one's value in the world of science. It's a reminder that there are still many who fight for fairness in every corner of society, and their efforts are beginning to show results. His story inspires many, not just in the scientific community, but in any field where talented individuals have faced systemic obstacles. Dr. Carter has shown that with perseverance and belief in oneself, anything is possible. This victory serves as a beacon of hope for the countless others who still feel invisible in the face of discrimination. This moment represents a crucial turning point in the fight for equity and justice, and Dr. Carter's work will forever serve as a reminder that breaking barriers requires immense courage and resilience. It is a victory that reaffirms that progress is possible, even in the most challenging of circumstances. The road ahead will be long, but Dr. Carter's case has made it clear that change is possible, and that people like him can be the ones to drive it. How do you think a victory like this can inspire others who are facing racial bias in their fields? It shows that fighting for what's right is worth it, even when the system is stacked against you. With the courtroom battle behind him, Dr. Carter's work begins to gain widespread acceptance in the scientific community. He is invited to speak at conferences, his research gaining the attention of leaders in the field. His story is one of perseverance, intellect, and breaking down barriers. Dr. Carter continues to push the boundaries of science, determined to prove that his brilliance, and that of others like him, should never be limited by the color of their skin. He is now seen not just as a talented scientist, but as a symbol of resilience. People who once doubted him now recognize the depth of his intelligence and the value of his work. Dr. Carter is helping to shift the narrative within science, proving that great ideas are not restricted by race or ethnicity, but by how much a person is willing to fight for them. As his reputation grows, Dr. Carter makes it a point to mentor young, underrepresented scientists, ensuring that they too can find success in a field that has historically excluded them. His influence extends beyond the laboratory as he becomes an advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in science and technology. While Dr. Carter's personal victory is monumental, it's also a victory for anyone who has ever been marginalized or doubted. His journey proves that the scientific community, and society as a whole, can change, as long as there are individuals brave enough to confront systemic bias and fight for what is right. The world is beginning to recognize the talents and contributions of Black scientists, thanks to Dr. Carter's work and the precedent his case has set. His success will continue to inspire generations of innovators, researchers, and thinkers from diverse backgrounds to break through barriers that have kept them out of certain spaces. The visibility of his triumph paves the way for others to rise above the limitations imposed on them. As he continues his work, Dr. Carter doesn't see himself as just a beneficiary of the changes his case has helped bring about. He knows the responsibility that comes with his newfound position in the field. He views his success not as an isolated achievement, but as part of a larger movement that seeks to create a world where innovation is open to everyone, regardless of race or background. How do you think it will take for people to stop doubting those who are breaking barriers and start believing in their potential? The answer lies in continuing to fight, to speak up, and to remind the world that talent is not defined by race or privilege. It's defined by dedication, passion, and the courage to innovate. Dr. Carter's journey is proof that when barriers are confronted head-on, change is not only possible, it is inevitable. Years later, Dr. Carter stands at the podium of a global scientific conference, addressing the next generation of scientists. "I stand here because of the people who believed in me when the world didn't," Dr. Carter says, his voice filled with emotion. "Now, I want to pass that belief on to you. Keep pushing the boundaries, keep questioning, and never let anyone tell you that you can't achieve greatness." As the audience rises to their feet, Dr. Carter looks out at the future of science, knowing that his fight for justice and knowledge will continue long after his own career. His presence on that stage is a testament to the battles he fought, the barriers he shattered, and the resilience that carried him through moments of doubt and discrimination. The journey was never easy, but he stands before the world as proof that perseverance and brilliance can overcome even the deepest-seated prejudice. The scientific community, once hesitant to accept his work, now looks to him as a leader. His contributions have reshaped the way people view diversity in science, opening doors for those who will come after him. Young researchers, inspired by his story, now enter the field with the knowledge that their potential will not be defined by the biases of others. Dr. Carter does not see his success as an individual victory. He understands that true change is only possible when it lifts up those who have been excluded for far too long. Through mentorship, advocacy, and continued groundbreaking research, he ensures that others will not have to endure the struggles he once faced alone. As he leaves the stage, he is met with admiration, not just for his scientific achievements, but for the legacy he is building. The world of science is changing, and Dr. Carter is a driving force behind that transformation. What do you think the future of science will look like if we continue to break down barriers of race and bias,